Well, we just heard, literally just heard this morning, it's Monday morning I'm doing this, that the government has now basically said that it is not going to stay in the customs union. So this can only mean, well, one of two things. Either A, the government is going to try and negotiate some sort of special a trade agreement. Now, this is going to be absolutely impossible to do because the current UK government wants to cherry pick. It wants to say, okay, we'll keep that, but we'll diverge in other areas. The EU has said numerous times that is not possible. You are either in the single market or you are not. And the other option is we go out on WTO rules. Now, when I said a couple of days ago when the report leaked about how much GDP we're going to lose over each option, the report specifically said, and even the government themselves basically retorted, oh no, yes, we're going to try and go for a special arrangement. To which my response is, if the least damaging option is us staying in the customs union and the single market, which lowers our GDP by 2%, you are looking at a special deal that will potentially do more damage to GDP than 2%. But we're not here to discuss that today. We're here to discuss the customs union. As all you've seen, I've already given the game away. We're going back to this. Brexit, what the hell happens next? Because some of you might not know what the customs union is. Well, believe it or not, Turkey, even though it's not a member of the EU, is a member of the customs union. So, there is a slight chance that Britain could leave the single market and stay in the customs union. As we saw earlier, the European Union market allows the freedom of movement of four things: good, capital, services and people. On the other hand, a customs union is only about the taxation of goods. It allows goods to be moved between its member states without paying tariffs and has one common tariff agreement for goods coming from outside the union. So you can move, say, pasta from Italy to France without paying any tariffs at the French border. But if you wanted to export pasta from the United States to France or Italy, you would have to pay the same tariff. Currently, only one major country outside the EU and inside the customs union is Turkey. It's a case very different to Britain. When Turkey joined the customs union, it was a stepping stone to full EU membership, the latest chapter in Turkey's historic journey towards the West. Since then, growing European nativism and the rule of hardline President Erdogan have put paid to those dreams. There are some advantages to being in the customs union, even if, like Turkey, you are on the outside of the single market. It removes tariffs in trade with Europe and allows you to enjoy the benefits of any deals negotiated with outside countries by the European Commission's very experienced negotiating team, who are arguably the best in the world. Nevertheless, the chances of Britain remaining in the customs union are slim to non-existent, given that a country cannot conclude its own trade deals in the customs union. May's creation of a Department for International Trade seems to be something of a giveaway about the direction of travel. There is a reason for that, which owes more to politics than economics. And the reason for all this hoo-ha is, once again, it is to do with May. Over the past couple of years, she has not been clear, single at all. And this is her being unable to control her party. But at the moment, as I said numerous times last year, she is not going to go anywhere. Because no one wants to drink from the poison chalice that is Brexit. Because if Theresa May goes, and Brexit all goes, belly up, then whoever is the next Conservative Prime Minister can blame it all on her, David Davis, Liam Fox, and anyone else they choose to think of that was somehow involved with Brexit, so long as they're not involved. This is why someone like Jacob Rees-Mogg, even though he's a very popular parliamentary member, has never stood during all this crisis to enter into one of these offices. So, remaining in the customs union would make ministers' lives even more difficult. They urgently need a sunny upland with which to counter all the doom and gloom being reported by journalists about the perils of Brexit. They are currently able to do this by pointing to trade deals Britain will be able to negotiate with major economies in the future. This is far more problematic than they make it out. But by staying in the customs union, this would deprive them of even more meagerly political currency. The business costs of this piece of political decision-making are very high. Rahul Rapal, who was hired by David Davis to provide expertise on the Brexit process, has admitted that leaving the customs union would reduce the GDP by between 1 and 1.2% on the long term, and the total cost of the UK economy of 25 billion a year. Other experts have expected to hit 4.5% by 2030. This is because leaving the customs union opens a Pandora's box of bureaucratic horror. We will see the introduction, which we saw in the introduction to this book. But first things businesses export to the EU will have to do is provide information about their product in order to establish a classification code. This code then allows them to ascertain the tariff and work out the export processing costs. This is not a simple process. Take biscuits. Biscuits come under the designation of composite aggregates. These are established by the percentages of milk fat, milk proteins and starch or glucose, or various forms of sugar in the product. To calculate the final product, you have to cross-reference 504 potential recipes of 27 kinds of product, leaving 13,608 categories of bakery or confectionery goods, all with potentially different export rate duties. At the border, customs officials will stop goods and check for classifications, along with the background information on the product, whether the salmon, say, is frozen or whether it is wild or farmed, because tariffs are calculated on cost. They must then ascertain the stated price of the item to see if it is being used to limit the tariff. They will then decide on whether the correct amount of customs duty has been paid. Then the real nightmare begins. Country of origin checks. These assets are not only the country the good comes from, but also where its components parts originated. It is despairingly complicated. The key issue is whether the EU has a preferential trade agreements with third countries who have made the component parts for the product. Take cars. Cars often have parts from all over the world. If a car has components parts from Mexico, and Mexico does not have a trade agreement with the EU, the vehicle may be blocked from entering the customs union or charged additional duty. So, oh dear. So businesses selling its products into the customs union, it is also likely to have established where every single component from all over the world has come from. For producers, which are often built with parts from all over the world, this can be a Herculean task. The clarification for a specific item lasts for 3 years, but that is not much use to the manufacturer. Its products will keep changing as different components are spliced together. Every time this happens, a manufacturer will require a new certificate. For many businesses, this is a bureaucratic requirement is more damaging to their day-to-day operations than the tariff itself. Usually the tariff cost can be absorbed, but the inconvenience of a country of origin checks are a perpetually and costly obstacle to trade. There is a final aspect to the customs union which will bring back gloomy memories of middle-aged Britons. leaving it will transport holidaymakers back to the day of excise duties. That means a return to limits on how many bottles of spirits and packets of cigarettes can be brought back to the UK. As with all aspects of Brexit, these effects can be prevented. Countries in the European Economic Area, for instance, have a mutual recognition of authorised economic operators, which reduces much of the burden, but to do so requires time and patient negotiations. And as we have seen, these are in short supply. So that's the coming chaos of us leaving the customs union. What the hell Theresa May and team have in store, we don't know. We're probably going to find out in March, because this is where this is all going now. And as I've said multiple times, this is all going to kick off in March. And remember, all these negotiations, some of which 300%, 300 or more, just general types of things, from tariff agreements to things simple as dog passports, which have been said would take approximately about 9 months to negotiate. Just on that one thing alone, it's absolutely insane. Remember, this is all going to be done by October, because then it's got to go through all the other 27 parliaments throughout Europe to be ratified. Not only that, but as we have already seen and discussed, us staying in the single market and the customs union is the best way to keep the Northern Irish border the current way that it is. So chances are, as Ireland have said, which a lot of people don't really seem to understand, they will stop anything going through that changes the current state of the border as it is. This is absolute nonsense, and we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for absolute stupidity for something as sovereignty. Well, sorry, but you had all the sovereignty. We lost pretty much none of it. And these trade deals that are supposedly going to replace us, well, we already know how much extra these are going to give back to us. The one which is meant to be so amazing with the United States would give us 0.2%. The trade deals that we are going to negotiate will not replace the European Union and its single market.